Okay, welcome back, kiddos. Now we are moving on to Unit 8. Okay, so we're going to start with what we call similar polygons. Okay, so a polygon is just a closed, multi-sided shape. Okay, so closed, multi-sided shape is what a polygon is. So what is similar? Okay, so similar is the main vocabulary word that we're going to talk about today. So similar triangles and then other similar shapes. Okay, so congruent versus similar. All right, so we talked about congruent already. Okay, so you know what congruent means, right? So what would you say congruent is? Same blank, same blank. Okay, so congruent means same shape and the same size. Okay, so it's the same shape and the same size. Similar, okay, so similar, it's a little bit different. Similar means same shape, different size. So you can think, different size versions of something. Okay, so that's what similar means. So that's the difference in math between congruent and similar. So congruent means same shape, same size. Similar means same shape, different size. So for instance, if we could have like a triangle just like that, right? And we could have a triangle just like that, right? If we said these, for instance, are congruent, right? But similar would be something like that and then something like that. And if we said that these angles are the same, then it would be the same size. Okay, so that's the difference. All right, so talking about that, let's write down those definitions. So we said similarity. Okay, what similar means is when two polygons are, they're similar if and only if the three corresponding angle pairs are congruent. Okay, so we need the angle pairs to be congruent, and then we need the measure of the three corresponding sides to be proportional. Okay, so that means when we solve it, we're going to set something up that looks like that, right? That's how we're going to solve things. That's what proportional means, all right? We can set up a ratio equals a ratio. Okay, so when we do that, we're going to use what's called the K value. So the K value is called the scale factor. Okay, so that's what the K value is. Okay, the scale factor. And so the scale factor is the number that you multiply to enlarge or reduce a figure by. So the scale factor is, we're going to calculate it as the new number over the original number, right? So the new number over the original, or you can think old, right? The old number is the original number. Okay, so that tells you how many times that you multiply, right? If we multiply times a number that's greater than 1, the result is bigger, right? If we multiply times a number less than 1, so we can think fraction, right? Then that makes it smaller, right? So we should keep that in mind. If we multiply times a number that's greater than 1, it gets bigger, right? If we multiply by a number that's smaller than 1, which means a fraction, it gets smaller, okay? All right, so keeping that in mind, let's get right into some practice. Okay, so the scale factor is going to tell us how many times that we multiply by something. Okay, so let's get into some practice. All right, so let's look at this diagram right over here. Okay, it says list all the pairs of congruent angles. It says triangle RST and this symbol XYZ, but this means similar, right? So this means similar. Okay, so similar is going to be this symbol right over here, and then congruent is going to be similar to that, but it has an equal sign, right? Congruent is going to have that symbol. Similar is going to have that symbol. Okay, so this tells us it is congruent. Similar. Okay, so list all the pairs of congruent angles, because we said similar means that they have the angles are going to be the same. All right, so we know this angle right here is going to be congruent with that one, because let's look at this sides, right? We have a short, medium, and long, right? Short, medium, and long. So if these are similar, if we're saying that these are different sizes, so same shape, different size, right? If that's the main thing that we're going to say, then we know that this angle in between the medium and the large has to be the same as medium and large, right? So then this angle right here, what if I put 2 on that one, right? If I put 2 on that one, which one is congruent with that one? Is it this one or this one? Well, this one's between the smallest and medium. This is the smallest and medium, so this one has to be the one that's 2. Okay, and then one of the rules that we learn today, if 2, so if 2 angles are congruent, the third one is as well. Okay, so if I know that these 2 are congruent to these 2, then I know that these 2 have to be congruent as well then. Okay, so that's a rule. If I know 2, then the third has to be. All I have to know are just 2 of them. Okay, so because we know they always have to add up to 180. All right, so keeping that in mind, which are the pairs that are congruent? Okay, so we would say T, right? This one right here is congruent with Z, right? So angle T is congruent with angle Z, right? That's what this symbol means, right? Okay, so then what else? We would say R and X, right? Angle R is congruent with angle X. Okay, then what? Angle S is congruent with angle Y, right? Angle S is congruent with angle Y. Okay, so if they told us that they are similar, that's what it says right here. Okay, so this is what we need to remember. It says those are similar, this triangle. And we know that R corresponds with X because it's the first one and the first one, right? S is in the middle, Y is in the middle. S is in the middle, Y is in the middle. Then T, and then Z, T, and then Z. Okay, so write the ratios. Okay, so we remember a ratio is a proportion. Right? Which means a fraction. Okay, that's what a ratio means. All right, so write the ratios of the corresponding sides in a statement of proportionality. Okay, well, if we say that these are similar, then this length right here, right, RT over, let's say, let's mark those. Let's say that this is a large, medium, and small, right? So then large, medium, and small. Okay, so we would say that the proportion of RT, which would it correspond over here? RT to XZ, right? XZ is proportional to, let's say, the large one, right? What if I said this one? ST over what? That would have to be YZ, right? Right? Is proportional to what? That would be RS, right? And then what else? RS over XY, right? But those are also proportional, excuse me, in the values, right? So RT over XZ is 25 over 15. Okay, well, 25 over 15, that's also proportional with, we said, 30 over 18, right? And that's also 20 over 12. Okay, so if we put these in if you put that in your calculator, okay, so if you put that in decimals right now, Okay, and then you would get 5/3. Okay, if you put this into your calculator, okay, you would also get 5/3. Okay, if you put this into your calculator, okay, you would get 5/3 because these are all the same proportions, right? So that's what we want to keep in mind. The ratios of the corresponding sides are all the same proportion. So find the scale factor. The scale factor we said was, the scale factor is calculating by the new over the original, or new over old. Okay, so let's think about this. Okay, so we said scale factor, so that the K value is the new, I'm just going to put over old because I think it's easier to remember that way. Okay, new over old. So which one's the new one? It says RST is similar to XYZ. Okay, so from RST to XYZ. So this is the old one. Okay, so this one has to be old. Okay, and then this one's new. Okay, so let's do the ratio of old to new. This one's the new on top, right? So we can say XY, right, which is 12, over, what would it be over here? Well, if we're using this XY 12, then we would say RS, which is 20, right? So if we did that, that would if we put that into our calculator, that would give us 3/5. And so our scale factor, which is our K value, is new over old. We have to say which one is the new one, right? It says it goes from here to here, so we know that one's a new one. So this one has to go on top, which is 12/20. In fact, if we put any of the other ones in that order, it would too, right? If I put 18/30, that would also be 3/5, right? Or if I put 15/25, right, to do this one over this one, it would also be equal to 3/5. Okay, so that's the main thing that we want to keep in mind, is that the angles are always going to be congruent and the sides are always going to be proportional. It's going to be the same ratio, and we calculate that ratio by the new over the old. Excuse me. Okay, keeping that in mind, let's get into some delta math. I think that's all you need to know. Let's see if that's all you need to know to do these. So see if you can actually push yourself to get this one by yourself. And see how, pause the video, see how much of this one you can do by yourself. All right, well, let's go. It says this quadrilateral CDEF, so we know it goes CDEF. Quadrilateral, we know is 4 sides, quad, is similar. Okay, so that's our key word. Similar, we're going to know, is proportional. Right? Similar means proportional, which means we need to set up fractions. Right? So it says find the measure of HI. Okay, so HI is this right here. So let's just kind of scribble that, HI. Right, that's what we're trying to find. We're trying to find the side, so it's important what we're looking for. And let's just put an X there for something we don't know, right? Okay, so it says it's not drawn to scale, but it's similar. What drawn to scale is means don't trust the picture to be drawn perfectly, right? So proportional, though, is when we know we can set up a fraction. So if this is proportional to this, then we know HI, which are these two middle ones, are going to be proportional to the two middle ones here, right? So DE, and that makes sense. So X in this one, right? And then GH, of course, because that's the first two, is also this first two over here, which is CD. So if we know that, if we're trying to figure out X and we know they're similar, then we just set up a proportion, right? We're going to say this one equals this one, right? So what if I just said, like, this is the first one, and then that's the second one, and we just put those values. So what do you think we would put from here on this one? Okay, well, let's just put 6 on top and 8 on bottom. What if I said that? So if I did 6 and 8 over here, what would I put over here? Well, this one would be X, right? And then this one would be 21.6. So hopefully you got that from our recent practice, right? And so now we just cross multiply, right? So I'm just going to go this times this equals this times this, right? So X times 8, or 8 times X, we can just write it over here as 8X. It's going to be equal to, okay, if I put this in my calculator, 6 times 21.6, remember it's always equal, okay, and that's going to be equal to 129.6, right? And then we know our last step is just to divide. Okay, we're going to divide by 8. So it's X equals 16.2. Okay, so That one is going to be our answer, and I'm going to highlight. Oh, I'm going to highlight my answer. Okay, so it's as simple as that. Once we get that, I think since we practiced so well last time on our last skill, I think it's going to be quite easy. All right, see if you can at least set this one up on your own, and then you can even kind of speed through it. All right, so it says these are similar, right? So we are thinking proportions, right? That's what we want to think. It's proportional, right? So it says find the measure of side YW. So YW is this side right over here, right? So that's what I'm trying to find. Let me put a X there for what I'm trying to find. Okay, so if I'm trying to find those and they are proportional, then I know I can just set up a proportion, right? So I can say one equals the other, right? So if I can say that's the first one and that's the second one, okay, what would go over here? Well, what would make sense is 3 and 5.4, right? No need to complicate things, right? Then what would go over here? Well, if 3 is on over here, that would correspond with the 12 right over there, right? And then the x would correspond with the 5.4, so the 5.4 x would go right there, right? All right, so then if we cross multiply, I like working with my x's first, so 3 times x gives me 3x equals, okay? Then I would just do this one times this one, right? So 12 times 5.4, that gives us 64.8, right? Okay, then we just going to divide by 3. That's our last step. We know that's easy stuff, right? So that means x is going to be equal to 21.6. Okay? All right, so what I'm going to, those are the first two problems. Now, what I'm going to show you is, at the end of this, I'm going to show you the solutions as well. So when we put that into the first one in, this is how Desmos would have done it. Okay, so they would have set it up that same way, but they would have done it a little bit different way with the scale factor. If you like their explanation better, that's cool. It's just more steps, and we still get that same answer. Okay, and then on the second one, okay, this is the solutions right there. So you can go right through it, exactly what they would say. And of course, we're going to get that same answer that I showed you. So whichever way makes the most sense to you. Okay, and then I'm just going to go show you these right now so that you can see those later. These are going to be those next problems as well. So I have the solutions from Delta Math for all these problems as well. So hopefully that'll make it even better for you. All right, so your notes should look like that. If they don't, let's make those better. Okay, so now let's go ahead and go on to the step it up. So these are going to be a little bit more difficult. Now this one should be on the bottom of your first page, but for some reason it went over here. All right, so let's go and check this out. Okay, see if you can get this one on your own first. At least try to set it up first. Push yourself. Okay, so it says ST is 65. Okay, so TR is 40, WU is 16. So it's giving us, these are all sides are given. Right? So if the sides are given, find the length of VW. So VW, let's trace that out from V to W, right? So from V to W, and if that's what we're trying to find, then I'm going to just label it X, okay? So now it says round your answer to the nearest tenth. So we remember with the tenth, that means 1 decimal place, okay? And it says that they're not necessarily drawn to scale. But what do we know? What else do we know? Well, 45, 97, and 38, are these similar? If they're similar, then we can do proportions, right? So what would similar mean? If it's similar, that means all angles have to be congruent, right? So that's what we're going to ask ourselves. So let's look. This one's 45. This one's 45, right? This one's 97. This one's 97. Okay, so we already said if 2 are, then we know the third has to be, right? If 2 are, we know the third has to be. Let's look. That's 38. That is 38 as well, right? So we would say yes, because all 3 angles are congruent. So if they are similar, that means they are proportional, right? So that means we can set up a proportion. Okay, so if we say that's going to be the first one, that's going to be the second one, right? What else do we know? Well, we have that original information. So go ahead and write that information in. excuse me. Okay, so ST equals 65. All right, so it's ST is 65. It'll be 65 right over there. Okay, TR is 40. Okay, so TR, we're going to say 40 right over there. Okay, WU is 16. WU is 16. Okay, so if that's the case, we know two of them over here, right? So we can put that over there. Let's see if we know these other ones. So we know the one on this one between 97 and 45. Okay, between 97 and 45, we do have it over here, right? It's 40, so we have a corresponding there. And then we have 45 and 38 for x. Between 45 and 38, we have 65. So set up what you think. All right, what if I said 40 over here and 65 over here? Okay, well, what would go over here? Well, between 45 and 97 would be 16, so that would correspond with the 40, right? So 16 would go over there, and then over here between 45 and 38 would be x, right? So that one's going to go right over there. Okay, so now what we have to do is we're just going to cross multiply, right? So we're going to say 40 times x. So 40 times x is going to give you 40x, right? And then 65 times 16. 65 times 16 is going to give you 1040. Okay, now we just know that last step is just going to divide, right? If we divide right there, that's going to give us x equals 26. Okay, so we took a complicated problem and we broke it down. Okay, so the first step that we have to do is we have to ask ourselves, are they similar, by seeing if the angles are congruent, if the sides are given, right? Okay, so now let's go and look at this problem right over here. Okay, so this one is the sides are given. Okay, they want you to find the perimeter. Okay, so how do we find the perimeter? How do we find the perimeter of any shape? We're going to add all the sides lengths. Sides lengths, right, or side lengths. Add all the side lengths. All right, so round to the nearest tenth if necessary. Okay, so let's see, are they similar? All right, let's ask ourselves, are they similar? Let's look at the angles. That one's 50. Okay, let's see if we have another 50. Okay, that one's 50. Yep. Okay, so that one's good. All right, what about this one? This one's 82. Here's an 82, right? This one's 48. Okay, that's a 48. Okay, so yes, they are similar. So that means they are proportional, right? So let's say we set up our fractions, right? So let's say if that one's the first one, that one's the second one. Go ahead and set those up. All right, well, we got to put that information in, right? SQ is 75. Okay, so SQ is 75. QR is 58. Okay, QR is 58. Okay, and SR is 56. SR is 56. Okay, so keeping that in mind, they want the perimeter of TUV. So that they want TUV. Well, what do we know? We got that last one right here, right? VU is 28. Well, don't want to forget about that. That's a little bit different because we have 4 values on this one now, right? 1, 2, I'm sorry, 5, 3, 4, 5. So TU is 29. So if TU is 29, let's kind of circle all these so they kind of pop out. TU is 29 and VU is 28. Okay, so they want the perimeter of which one? They want the perimeter of TUV. Okay, so let's keep that in mind. TUV is going to be this one. So that means we need to know 28, 29, and this one right here, right? That's what the side that we're trying to find. All right, so how would we find that one out? Well, we know they're proportional. So if we set up for proportions, we can figure that one out. So we know that one is one that we need, right? So let's put X over here, right? So say I put X on the bottom, okay? What would correspond on this one for X? Okay, well, X over here is between 50 and 48, right? X is between 50 and 48. So between 50 and 48 is 75. So X over here, we would have 75 over there, okay? Then, now we have either one of these sides and we have either one of these. So it really doesn't matter whichever we want. So say we did the 28. Okay, so 28 is between 50 and 82. Okay, 50 and 82. So between 50 and 82 is 56, right? So we're going to put 56 right over there. And then over here, between 50 and 82 is 28, right? So that makes sense. We're going to put 28 over there, right? So now we're just going to cross multiply. So we're going to do that. So that'll give us 56x equals 75 times 28, which will give us 2100. Okay, so now on this one, this is step number 1. Okay, we got to keep that in mind. Okay, so then we're going down, so we're going to divide by 56. So that gives us x is going to be equal to 37.5. Now I'm just going to circle this one because that's just our first part, right? That gives us the value of x. Okay, but we want to find the perimeter, which means we need to add all the side lengths, right? Add all the side lengths. So we need to think about that one being step number 2. Okay, so step number 2, we're going to add all the sides, right? So that's going to be 28. So we're going to say the perimeter is going to be 28 plus 29, right? From right here, 28 plus the 29 plus our last one of 37.5. That's going to be equal to 94.5. Okay, so that is our final answer. That's what we want to highlight. Okay, so keep in mind the most common wrong answer is just going to be stopping right there. So we have to make sure that we go right there. All right, so that's it for our first half of our notes, and then we'll go over the rest in just a moment.